two boys entered the Tower of London in 1483 and disappeared forever. One was King Edward V, just 12. The other was his 9-year-old brother, Richard. Their disappearance helped reshape England's monarchy. But were they murdered by their uncle, Richard III? Or did they somehow survive? According to historic royal palaces, Edward and Richard were never seen alive after the summer of 1483. Historians still cannot establish exactly what happened to them. When Edward IV died unexpectedly on April 9, 1483, his eldest son Edward inherited the throne. But the new king was only 12. His uncle, Richard, Duke of Gloucester, became Lord Protector and took control of the young king's affairs. According to historic royal palaces, Richard intercepted Edward's entourage, arrested key members of the Woodville family, and eventually placed Edward in the Tower. His younger brother Richard joined him in June. Then everything changed. Edward's coronation was abandoned. Parliament declared the boys illegitimate, arguing that their father's marriage to Elizabeth Woodville was invalid. Richard was crowned king on July 6th. The two boys had suddenly become political liabilities. Richard III is the obvious suspect. He had motive. The princes stood between him and a secure claim to the throne. He had opportunity. They were being held under his authority. But motive and opportunity are not proof. According to historic royal palaces, the last recorded sighting came on June 16th, when the boys were reportedly seen playing and shooting arrows in the Tower Gardens. After that, references to them disappear. The famous accusation against Richard came decades later through Sir Thomas More's History of Richard III, written roughly 30 years after the disappearance. More described a murder ordered by Richard and carried out by servants. But More was not an eyewitness. That distinction matters. Richard was not the only person who benefited from the prince's disappearing. Henry Stafford, Duke of Buckingham, was one of Richard's powerful allies and has long been proposed as another possible suspect. Later, Henry Tudor had an obvious political interest. The disappearance removed two stronger Yorkist claimants. According to historic royal palaces, after defeating Richard at Bosworth in 1485, Henry Tudor became Henry VII and strengthened his claim by marrying the prince's sister, Elizabeth of York. Then came another extraordinary development. In 1491, Perkin Warbeck claimed to be the younger prince, Richard. He insisted he had escaped the Tower. His story convinced several powerful Europeans, although he eventually admitted he was an impostor and was executed. Nearly 2 centuries later, in 1674, workers discovered the skeletons of 2 children during demolition work at the Tower. According to historic royal palaces, King Charles II ordered the remains reburied in Westminster Abbey as those of Edward and Richard. But there is a major problem. Their identity has never been conclusively proven. The exact location of the discovery is also debated. The remains have never undergone modern DNA testing. Claims about the skeletons being definitively identified as the princes should therefore be treated as unproven. The strongest conclusion is surprisingly simple. We know the princes disappeared, but we do not know who killed them, or even with absolute certainty whether the bones found centuries later are theirs. Richard III remains the leading suspect because he controlled their custody and benefited enormously from their disappearance. But the surviving evidence does not provide a definitive murder order. The strongest conclusion is surprisingly simple. We know the princes disappeared, but we do not know who killed them, or even with absolute certainty whether the bones found centuries later are theirs. Richard III remains the leading suspect because he controlled their custody and benefited enormously from their disappearance. But the surviving evidence does not provide a definitive murder order. The princes in the Tower remain a mystery because the evidence ends precisely where the truth begins. And perhaps that is the most haunting lesson of history. Power can change the record, but it cannot erase the questions. If you enjoy investigations into history's biggest unanswered mysteries, subscribe to Secrets of the Past and stay with us for the next one.